Croydon Vision Facebook Live event. I hope you enjoyed last week with Marcus from the Tate Modern. I hope it's made you want to go and see audio described and touch tour in the museum. Now today in the room I have Anna. Hello. And we have Ola behind the camera. So today we're going to talk about communication. So how do you communicate if you can't see so well or if you can't see at all? What are your solutions? What are your tools? So we have here, I have the kind of first thing I always say is that, okay, if you can't see so well, you have the 3 B's. Make everything big, bright and bold. Yeah. And so this is an example. So this is a large print diary. So if you open a page, you will see the numbers, the weeks, everything is in large. And you can change your background. For example, this is white letters on black background. And you can do that with your computer, with your mobile phone. You make things bigger, larger, bolder, with more color contrast. To write, for example, I will have my pad and I would use a big felt pen so I can write my name, Odette. So I have a bit more chance of seeing it. I have loads of pens in my bag, loads of felt pens to help me write. So big, bold and bright, those are one solution. Now also, so if you can't see so well, you can still hear, you have your ears. So how do you take notes? So I have my mobile phone, for example, and I will say, hey Siri, create note.
What do you want it to say?
So say me what you want it to say. I go blah, blah, blah. Hello, I would like to, you can say a whole sentence. You can say a phone number. You can say as much as you want. And then when you stop speaking.
Okay, I created a note.
It's created a note. And so that's a useful tool to have, your mobile phone. So maybe we can ask the viewers, what do you use? I'll switch the voice off. What do you use to take notes? So we get a little bit of ideas, and it's good to share ideas. And let's not talk about Braille because we'll talk about this a bit later. But do you use anything to take notes?
I use the notepad on my iPhone, sorry.
Yeah.
I write really, really large like you do.
Yes.
And magnification.
You use magnification. Yeah, to make things bigger.
They're the 3 sort of things I use to get around seeing.
Fantastic.
Really?
And just one more thing I wanted to show. This is a Victor. So it does also, you can use it as a GPS as well, but it does create notes. So we do here at Croydon Vision for Talking News, for example, for my French lessons, anything you want to record, and it creates a file. You can put it on a USB stick. You can then sort of listen to it at a later time. So these are just a few ideas about sort of recording, about using voice. So using voice also on the computer, your computer can talk to you and as you type and talk back to you. So we have the big and bold, we have a bit of the voice to sort of think, and then the other thing, the last thing we're going to talk about today is touching, is Braille. And this is why I've invited Anna to talk to us about Braille. So Anna, a little bit of history, maybe to put it into context. So when was Braille invented? Who invented Braille?
Braille was first invented. Well, Braille was first invented in the mid-1800s. Mm-hmm. And it was invented by Louis Braille, who's one of my absolute heroes. Now, Louis had an accident when he was 3 in his father's workshop, and as a result he became blind. later on he was sent to the blind school in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And while he was there, one of the generals from the French army came, and this general had been trying to develop what he called night writing. So it was a way of writing so that you could feel it. And the whole idea was that when they went to war and they didn't want the enemy to see them, they didn't have to turn a light on at night, dark in the night, and they weren't seen.
So they could read messages in the dark.
Yeah, they could read messages in the dark. But this system was way overcomplicated. And so he gave the system to Louis in school. Louis was only about 15 at the time.
Wow.
But he realised this was a system that was far too complicated.
Yeah.
And so Louis simplified it and invented or designed the system today that we call Braille.
Fantastic.
And the really, really sad thing about it is that he fought huge adversity through the whole of his life. People were really against his Braille system. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until, unfortunately, he died quite young of tuberculosis. And it wasn't until 2 years after his death that Braille was finally recognised as the official reading and writing system for blind people in France.
Wow, that is sad. That is sad. So just for people who don't know at all, could you kind of explain what is Braille in a nutshell?
What is Braille? Braille is a series of dots, lumps, however you want to describe it, that form shapes and form letters, and that then form words and sentences.
So you can feel them
feel it with your fingers.
With your fingers. Okay. So I think what would be kind of interesting if we asked our audience, anybody out there use Braille? Has anybody tried to learn Braille?
Not yet. We haven't got anything in here.
No comment. No. Okay, that is fine.
Catherine was teaching me Braille when I joined. I think I had a couple of lessons with her on camera and off camera as well. I learned a couple. I think H and T and S.
Okay.
And after that, you see, the funny thing is then you start to notice all these things around you that are usually there but you didn't notice before, like at the station or maybe like on a...
you start noticing Braille.
You start noticing it everywhere.
Now, that's an interesting... We'll talk about where Braille is useful in a little moment. But before we do, Anna, I think what will be really nice for us is to maybe learn maybe just a few basics.
Yeah.
So how do you learn Braille? What's the best kind of way?
To learn Braille, your best bet is probably to buy a course.
Yeah.
The RNIB design, have 2 or 3 courses that they sell. Depends how far you want to go with Braille as to which course you buy, but they will talk you through that with you.
Fantastic. So here today I have an egg box, because I believe we're going to start with an egg box today.
We are. We're going to start with an egg box. Now, and the reason that we're starting with an egg box is because it has the same arrangement as what we call a Braille cell.
Okay.
i.e. it's the same layout as the 6 on a die.
So it's got 6 holes.
6 holes in it.
Yeah.
And we're going to put some paper that will represent the dots.
So I've done some black paper and sellotape, a bit of DIY.
A bit of DIY.
So I have a few dots here to use.
That's excellent. Okay.
Let's start with the first letter.
Shall we start with A, which goes in dot 1. So if you would like to put that in the top left-hand hole, and we now have the letter A.
Hey, fantastic.
Now, if you would like to put another of your little bundles beneath that on the left-hand side, that's it. We now have the letter B.
So Anna, before you go any further, I've got my 3rd dot.
Yes.
If I put it underneath again, is that going to be C?
No, you've actually got the letter L there. But never mind. At least we now know the letter L. Okay, do you want to take out the the lump that made the letter B.
Okay, so the middle
The
one.
middle
yeah.
one, the middle one, and you want to put it on the top right-hand side.
So just next to the
That's
A.
right.
Okay.
And we now have the letter C.
Okay, fantastic. So let's just recap that one. I'll take them out again. So letter A is the top left
Left-hand
one.
side.
Letter B is the top left one plus one underneath.
Yes.
And letter C is, I leave the A again and I put it just next to it.
That's right.
A,
yeah.
B, C. Hey, fantastic.
So that's, yeah.
So that's a letter. So does Braille, do you have sort of different cells like that for different letters of the alphabet?
Yeah, and what we've got here
Ah.
is, now, I'm not sure what this is called. It's a learning aid for Braille. I think that's probably the most accurate description for it. And what I've done is I've written the alphabet on it. So we have the letters A.
So Anna, sorry, I can't see it very well from here. What does it consist of? Is
Okay,
it, do you have little balls like me?
No, I've actually got like little nails that stick
Little
into
pins.
holes. They're like
Okay.
little pins, and they go
Right.
into the holes and make up the letters. So we've got the arrangement for the whole of the alphabet, but it's a little bit different to normal because we've not included the letter W. The letter W is down here at the very bottom row.
And why is that?
And why is that? Well, when Louis designed his system way back in the mid 1800s, he was in France, and
We
in
don't use
France,
W that
They
much.
don't use the W. They didn't really have a W,
At that time,
and so he never designed a W.
Oh, fantastic. Now, before we go any further, Anna, it might be fun to do a few names, maybe? Or at least initials would be
Initials.
quite fun.
I think if we
yes.
do initials, because we've got two sort of
So I've got two cells.
cells there.
Quick question.
Yes.
So the viewers can actually follow along. Other than the egg racks, if they don't have any at home, what other things can they use to?
So here we have, for example, sort of plastic, I think there were biscuits in it. So
Yeah,
biscuit
cakes,
holder,
biscuits.
cakes, you could use muffin tins, you could use just 6 mugs, put, in two rows.
And you could put potatoes,
you could
onions,
put-
anything that will sort of go into them, like we've got our lumps of paper.
Or egg cups, you could have 6 egg cups. Anything that's going to create a little kind of bowl and that you can put something in it. I kind of would not recommend eggs because they might roll off your table and break. Unless you do them hard-boiled eggs,
Yes.
that can probably work.
Yeah.
So Anna, would you say that then along a page of Braille, you would have all different cells going along
That's
with
right,
the
yes.
6 lumps sort of organised to
That's
make
right.
up letters?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Ah, excellent. So shall we ask people to maybe send us an initial? Is there anybody who wants to send us an initial?
Yeah.
KT.
KT, okay.
KT.
So how do I do a K?
Right, K, if you'd like to put in dot 1 again, or A.
So I'll do on the
Yeah.
one, this one, so
Yeah.
A, yeah.
No, that's too low, that's it.
I have to feel
Shall I
it.
hold the box?
There we
That might be
go,
easy.
got it.
Now, do you want to put one in the bottom right, left-hand corner again?
The
So
bottom
you
one.
miss out a hole.
Yeah.
And that's it, that's K.
Ah,
And then T.
T.
So T, if you put 2 bits in the top 2 holes on the right-hand side,
on the right-hand
side,
Yeah.
and then if you put 2 bits on the bottom of the left-hand side, that's it. And we have now a T. So that's KT.
KT.
Yeah, and
Excellent.
that's, and can I just say at this point,
Yeah.
the T, that's as complicated as it gets. It really doesn't get any more complicated than that, more difficult than that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So Anna, this is quite fun to do that. Now,
Can you do one more?
let's do one more.
Let's
Two
do
more.
one.
AN and then LS.
A-N. Okay, wait,
A,
let me get all
N.
my bubbles off.
Right.
So, A.
Okay.
A, I know. Let
A,
me,
you
is
know.
the top
You know A.
left corner.
Right, N. So, Do a K.
So it was one, and two.
No.
Was that what?
No, that's the O.
Oh, no, that's the O. Oh, yes, I had to miss one out.
That's right. So that's the K. Now, to make this into an N,
Yeah.
we need to put 2 in the upper right-hand corner. So put one in the right. That's it. And then one below it. That is the N.
That is the N. So A
that is
and
the
N.
And what was the next one we're going to do?
LS.
LS.
Now we know L, don't you?
Yes, that was the C
mistake.
that I missed
That's
out,
right.
wasn't it? So
Yes,
on the left hand side, 1, 2, 3.
L, and
That's
then S.
L.
Now, S, if you put 2 in the bottom left-hand side,
So the bottom
Left-hand
left
side.
and the one on top.
and then if you put one on the top right-hand side, and that's our S.
And that's S.
So that's LS.
So S is, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Question: Is there like a logical method to like this, or
You have to learn it. I think you have to learn it.
You have to learn it, but there is a logical method. Basically, there are letters A to J, and then it repeats itself again. Only it puts in the dot 3, or the bottom left hand corner, and it repeats. The whole pattern repeats again, only with the dot at the bottom.
So there's a
left-hand corner.
little logic.
So there is a little bit of logic to this, but really and truthfully, you have to learn the letters individually. You pretty much have to learn the letters.
And you were saying to me, Anna, that children sometimes do learn it with egg boxes
Yes,
to
they
make
do.
it fun, and
They do to
ping
make it
pong
fun.
balls.
Yeah, ping pong balls.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Fantastic.
actually how they teach some
Now,
of the blind children.
So what I wanted to show you, you were talking about a method that the RNIB that you could get from. So this is one. This is fingerprint, and
This
if
is
you open
fingerprint.
it, you can feel. I can feel loads of dots.
Yeah.
So people would learn using.
They would.
And you also said that you would, when you buy this book, you also have a CD that talks you
Right,
through
okay.
it, that helps you to read
This
it.
course comes
Yeah.
in 2 parts. So you have the 9 books. So you've
Yeah.
got one of the books there, and then you have another part that you have to buy separately, but you do have to buy it. And the reason they do that is because it comes in different formats. So you can get it in ordinary CD, you can get it in DAISY format, you can get it on a USB stick, and you can get it in the instructions in Braille for someone who's a Braille user teaching another Braille learner. So you buy whatever format is suitable for you.
That's really good. And I also wanted to add that there are some, so if in your family somebody was blind, whether it was your grandmother, whether it was your child, there are some books where you will have the picture, the text and the Braille. So if you wanted to share a bedtime storybook, there are books as well that you can have all 3, the pictures, the text and the Braille all at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Now we were talking about how Braille, so if you have dots A, B, C, it must take a long time to read.
It does. It at the beginning it does take a long time. You have to practice. You have to do lots and lots of practice.
And I believe also that then once you become more advanced, things change. There's another, I think it was called grade 1 if it was all the letters, and grade 2 if it was the contractions.
Okay,
Do you want to
so
explain a bit?
Grade 1, also known as uncontracted Braille, is a much simpler system.
So it's A, B,
Basically,
C.
it has the letters, the numbers, the number indicator, and the dot that makes the letters capitals. It has also got the punctuation, and I think it includes the special punctuation such as the pound and the @ sign for emails and things like that. Now, if you are going to seriously use Braille, i.e. you're going to read more than a paragraph, you really have to learn grade 2 or contracted Braille. The way to think about this, the easiest way to think about this, is if you think of the English language and you think of how we spell words, and if you think of the common combinations, ST, CH, TH,
Yeah.
OW.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other one that you might be surprised about is the AR contraction. And they're called contractions. We have other ways of shortening words, but I won't overload you at the moment.
No.
But that is contracted Braille. And that actually reduces documents by about 20%.
Fantastic. Yeah.
But it does take a
Take
lot
it.
of discipline to learn that.
Yeah. Now we were talking about sort of letters and things like that. Let's think about numbers as well. We did ABC.
Sorry, before you move
Yes.
to numbers, we have a question here.
Aha.
Do you read Braille the same way you read English, like from left to right,
Yes,
and then one row at a time?
yes, that's it. In a nutshell, it's exactly the same as reading. Only you use your finger rather than your eyes to read.
And it's from left to right, and so, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the words are arranged exactly the same as they would be in sighted English. So
In
you'd have a
paragraphs
space
and-
between each of the words, and you'd have paragraphs. So yeah,
Okay. So I've brought out my 2 cells again,
you have.
and am I going to need 2 cells for 1, 2, 3?
Right, you are going to need new two
Okay.
cells for 1, 2, 3.
So
Because the reason that we're going to look at numbers now.
yeah.
Now numbers use the same sign shapes as letters. So A to J are numbers. Now to make them into numbers, we have to use what we call the number indicator. So if you would like to get 3 of those lovely paper balls you
Yes,
have,
I have.
and if you'd like to pop them down the right hand side of the first cell,
So the top, the middle, the bottom of the right.
and if you'd like to take a 4th one, and
Yeah.
if you'd like to pop it in the bottom left hand corner, that's
Okay.
it. So we have almost like a back to front L.
Well, yeah.
And then if you'd like to do an A again,
So top left
A,
corner.
that's it. Now because we've got the number indicator in front of it, that has now made that A into a 1.
1.
So if you'd like to do a 2,
So that would be like a B.
it would
So I'll
indeed.
put it in the underneath the A.
Now we've got the number indicator and 2.
And C. Now C, I know, is not underneath the B.
It isn't.
And I think I take this one out and I put next
That's
to.
right.
So it's just the 2 at the top.
Yes. So that is 3. So we
Ah,
have
excellent.
the number indicator and 3.
Now, Anna, I mean, if somebody wasn't to learn, the whole Braille, to read books and that kind of thing, and what would be useful? Say if you were going to learn just number, where would it be useful in everyday life? So to speak?
Learning the numbers would definitely be useful in lifts.
Lifts.
Lifts
Ah,
are quite a
yes.
big thing. Learning things like S, because they're on the stop signs.
Ah,
On all the
yes.
stop signs.
On the bottom in
Yes.
buses, yes, you can
so
feel the. I always felt that there were lumps, but I've never learnt Braille, so I never quite knew what it was
What they
basically.
were.
Yeah.
There may be individual letters.
I
that would
know.
be
Do you know
really
what?
helpful to you to learn.
Do you know in playing cards there
Yeah.
are playing cards with the numbers?
There
So if you were
are.
playing, you would just need to feel the corner,
That's right.
and you'd
yes.
know what you have.
You know what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Anna.
And also, I think Scrabble can be done in Braille.
Oh yes, I
think you
think
can have
there
a
is.
bit of
I have a
Scrabble.
large print one at home.
Yeah.
I use, but I don't. But I must say that I often have to ask my husband, even if it's a large print.
Yeah.
So if it was Braille, I could probably just feel it.
Have a little feel and you'd be away.
That's very interesting, and it would
Yeah.
probably keep me going, keep me
It
learning
would.
the Braille.
It
Now
would.
I'm going to put these cells away, and Anna. Now this is very kind of DIY type
Yes.
thing. And yes.
Yes.
How does somebody use Braille in a kind of an office, in a work situation,
Okay.
or when you're learning at school?
Okay, so if we pop this away for just
Yeah.
now, and we bring out my note take. Well, we've got 2 note takers. So
Do you
we've
want-
got the Orbit. This is an
This
entry
looks-
level machine. That's probably more for home use.
Oh,
And then, whoops, I've just moved the table.
that's okay. Now,
Um,
did we want to talk about maybe the keys? Because
So
I can see
we
there's
bring up
not A,
my-
B,
Can we
C.
bring up my
Okay. Yeah.
bigger one? Because I know how to use this one.
Yes, yes. So this is kind of a simple
And this is what
one.
you would actually use in the office. Now, this is a Braille note taker. This is actually the Polaris. And so it's going to sing a little tune in a minute once I turn it on. So we'll let it do its little tune. There it goes. And we'll let the keys come up. That's it. So it's told me now it's in File Manager. I'm going to do an N and go into Note Taker. And so this is almost the equivalent of having a tablet or more or a laptop. It's computerized and it can do emails on it in its own right. It can Bluetooth onto a computer, so you could do whole documents on this.
So if the documents, for example, was written in letters, would it read it back to you?
It depends what the settings are. Now, I could set this so it would read every letter.
Yeah.
But once you get quite proficient at Braille, you can get very fast, and the machine can't keep up with you. So I have it set so that it says every word. So if I do A, shall I do that again? I'll make it repeat.
Slowly.
So
Anna.
it's saying my name, Anna.
So how do you know? Are there? I can kind of see there's much less keys than on my ordinary ABC sort of
Your QWERTY keyboard.
My QWERTY keyboard.
Okay. Now to write Braille,
Yeah.
we use what we call the Perkins Keyboard. Now the easiest way to understand the Perkins Keyboard is if we both do a bit of the exercise we did earlier.
Yeah.
If we hold our pinkies out of the way.
So pinkies.
Out of the way because we don't need them.
And the thumb.
And then I'm holding my pinkies in with my thumb.
Okay.
So we then have our three fingers.
Yeah.
If we put the index and index finger together,
Yeah.
and the finger underneath
middle
together, and then I think it's the ring fingers
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
And if we so that's a cell. If you imagine that's kind of like the cell, the braille cell.
Like the egg box.
That's right,
Yeah.
like the egg box. Now, if we from the index finger out, if we put the index fingers together,
Yeah.
and then put your other fingers flat,
Yeah.
and we lay them on these keys. Each of these keys represents one of the dots in the cell.
Okay, so if I put my fingers in the cell in the egg box, and then I open them again, my A, which was my top, becomes my pointer of my left hand.
That's right.
So if I type this, that would be A.
That's right. Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
Yes.
And that's how. So basically, you have kind of six. Like the six.
That's right. That's right.
Holes
and
in your
you
cell.
basically
You have
press
six.
the combination of buttons or keys to create your letter.
Fantastic. Oh, that is really useful. So, how do you use it in your kind of? What do you do with this machine? Basically,
You can do all sorts with it.
Do you take notes?
I take notes.
Yeah.
One of the things that has been an absolute joy with this is that I have discovered the joy of being able to put my earbuds in, make a phone call on my iPhone, and being able to take notes
at the same time.
and not having to stress. It's been so much more relaxed without having to stress about trying to write big and juggle the phone at the same time.
So I suppose if somebody is fed up at listening to electronic voices or is a bit hard of hearing, the Braille will be
comes
really
into its real own as well. Is obviously with Braille, you read at your own speed.
Yeah.
Not that dictated by a voiceover.
Yeah.
So if you're reading an article or something in work that's a little bit complicated and you need to read it and to digest it and go a bit slower, you can go at your speed, not somebody else's speed.
Yeah, yeah. But that sounds like it's really useful.
Yeah, it's very useful.
Oh, fantastic. And Anna, sort of how long has it taken you to learn Braille?
Well, I learnt the full contracted Braille.
Wow.
So it probably took me, I did have to have a bit of a break for personal reasons.
Yeah.
Probably would have taken me about a year.
A year or so. And would you recommend it for somebody to actually learn it?
I would recommend it. I would highly recommend learning Braille, especially if you want to go into the workplace, because it really does open up doors for you. And it is a fact that 10%, if you take the amount of blind people and sight impaired people who are in work, you are 10% more likely to be in work if you learn Braille.
Right. Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
And Anna, you're not totally blind. You
I'm
can
not
still
totally
see a little
blind.
bit. Do you only use Braille?
No. Braille is a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool like everything else. So I use Braille, I use magnification, I use voiceover, and basically I use the tool that is the best for the situation.
Yeah.
And what's going to help me the most.
Oh, fantastic.
And what I would say to anybody, just because you've learnt Braille doesn't mean that that's all you can ever use.
Yes.
And I would say to parents as well, parents may be concerned, I want my child to learn sighted, not Braille, because I want them to be able to cope in the ordinary world, so to speak. I'd say let them learn both, because then they've got more feathers in their cap, and they've got more tools to use
Fantastic.
in their older adult life.
That is a very good tip, Anna. Thank you very much. Now, we were talking also about Braille and kind of the world at large, sort of internationally, and we were saying how Braille represents letters, so obviously it's a language that would need letters, and that so the French Braille would obviously be in French, and the English Braille in English, and if you have then a different alphabet, it will be totally different.
It will be totally different.
So it's not a universal language.
It's
so to
not.
speak.
Well, it's universal to the English language.
Yeah.
In England now, the standard in the English-speaking countries is what we call Unified English.
So
Braille.
that would be kind of American, Australia.
That's right,
Canada.
and they've completely unified it right across the English-speaking world, and also made it so that it's simplified for electronic machines like this. If you were to go to an Arab country and you learnt their language and needed to know, you'd have to learn a completely new
Different,
Arabic Braille.
So that's interesting to know, because you might have not known that. But also, I also heard about Braille for maths, for all the maths and the chemicals.
Yes, Memeth.
Yeah,
I think it's called Memeth.
I don't know.
It's called Memeth. I haven't learnt Memeth. I've never needed to learn Memeth.
No. But it's interesting to know it exists.
It
in
exists.
A way,
And that's the Memeth language.
One thing also, just to think about the use of Braille, I knew a lady who had all her knitting patterns in Braille.
Right.
So she would feel where she was and she would knit away and do quite complicated jumpers. And so the RNIB provided the Braille and also music in Braille.
There is music in Braille. Now, I don't know a lot about music in Braille. It's something I want to find out about.
Yeah,
I've
very
been
interesting.
told that it can be quite tricky.
But
I can only go on what I've been told. It's not. It's something I'd like to find out about.
Yeah. So let's ask our viewers.
Yeah.
Has anybody out there used Braille in different ways?
So Catherine tried to learn Braille. I think she got a couple of letters as well, alphabets. And then that's it. There's a question. Is there an advantage of Braille to speech? And we've got someone that really likes the fact that we're using egg boxes to demonstrate the Braille.
I'm glad they like that idea.
A bit of DIY.
Yeah, a bit of DIY.
Well, I suppose sometimes you're not always in a situation where you want to have headphones. Say you're on the train, or you don't want everybody to hear your laptop. It's kind of very discreet, isn't it?
One of the reasons, because I actually got this bought for me by Access to Work.
Yes.
Now, because I was in work at the time, And one of the reasons they gave it to me was because I had to go into meetings.
Yes.
And you didn't want something chattering away in the background.
It's hard to listen to a meeting with one ear, the
Yeah.
other ear is listening to your computer.
Yeah, it was just not a doable thing. And you know, in a meeting, you don't, especially if you're in a meeting and it's people you're not familiar with, you don't want that kind of embarrassment of somebody chattering away in the corner on their phone. So I can, if I want to, I can completely turn the voice off this.
Yes.
And
very you can
quickly,
feel then,
and I can just feel and type quietly
because
away
actually
as if I was typing on a laptop like everyone else.
So also what we didn't mention actually is that not only do you have the keys that actually write and do the braille, but you can actually feel little pins coming up.
You can. This is what
can we see that all on the camera? Can you? Do you want us to bring it a little bit?
No, it's fine.
Yeah. Do you want to show maybe with your fingers where the pins
down
are?
at the very bottom, this is what we call a 36 cell note taker because it's got 36 cells, and it's what we call a refreshable braille notepad because once it's full, it just moves.
So basically, Anna, you could actually read very discreetly a document.
I could.
While other people are talking in public, without having to have headphones. You can read it through your fingers.
Yeah, that's right.
Fantastic. So I imagine somebody who's deafblind, somebody who can't see and who can't hear, that kind of machine would be invaluable. Fantastic. Now that is, I hope we've kind of answered some of the questions.
Another question.
It's gone into sleep mode. Sorry about that.
Someone else is asking, are there many people without visual impairment that learn how or teach Braille?
There are a few. I think basically everybody who is a rehabilitation officer in the sensory team, part of their exam is actually to write an essay in Braille, so they will actually teach Braille. I think most people who would learn Braille, they would have a reason for doing it.
Definitely.
So either they have somebody in their family, they want to be able to communicate, or themselves are visually impaired or blind. So you would only have a few people who are not visually impaired who would learn Braille, basically. If you're a teacher, if you're a sensory team.
I think what I would say is that Braille is particularly prevalent amongst people who've been born with a sight impairment or blind, because obviously it's the easiest way of teaching someone to read and write in the first instance.
Yeah.
Obviously, voiceover is wonderful. It's a wonderful piece of technology, but it doesn't teach you to read and write. And you couldn't learn that way. So they're the people that really get taught Braille. Older people like myself, I learnt this when I was about 50 or 51. I learnt it because of the benefits it would give me for employment. Yeah. But you really have to be quite disciplined. You have to be prepared to do a bit every day.
It's like learning a new language.
It is
really.
A bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost like learning to read again.
Yes.
You know, it was. You know, it was like learning to read.
And
again.
you have to have, I suppose, in a certain sense. Do you develop a sensitivity of your fingers?
You do. I mean, one of the things that has to happen. There's two things have to happen.
Yeah.
One, there's the intellectual knowledge. That's the easy bit. Then there is what I call the neurological part. And it's a bit like learning any skill. Your brain has to learn what your finger is actually feeling.
Yes.
And the more you do it, the more your brain will learn. Yeah. So it is practice, and more practice.
So Anna, just to get an idea of how it kind of really happens, when you put your finger will then go on one cell.
Yes.
Yeah? Do you actually feel for each dot?
No, what you do, if I wake up I'll wake up and he should come up with Anna again. So what I do is I put my finger on the first letter and I move it along. So just like your eyes move along the line,
Yes.
your finger moves along the line. So that question that we had earlier about do we go from left to right,
Yeah.
and we do with our finger exactly what we do with our eyes.
Fantastic. So your finger will feel one cell, and you
Yeah.
feel that there's one dot up on the left corner, that's A.
Yeah.
When you move it along, you feel it's
Yeah.
N. So,
And eventually your brain gets to the stage it doesn't actually feel all the individual dots, it just recognises the shape.
you know, it's that letter.
It just gets to that
It's
stage.
it's like your eyes. You're not
Yeah.
looking at each bubble.
Exactly,
You're actually
just-
looking at the overview.
Yeah.
And you know,
yeah.
fantastic.
So yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So basically your finger does the same as your eyes.
Yeah. Oh, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
Do we have any other comments or questions?
Is there a software that works with the note taker?
Right, okay. The note taker is a computer in its own. It's a mini computer. It's a tablet and more, or almost a laptop. So it's got a huge amount of software in it.
Yeah.
It has got software that will Bluetooth onto your computer, software that will attach to your email account.
What about to your
all of
phone?
that.
Does it
Yes,
go
it
to
will
your phone? Yeah.
Bluetooth onto your phone. It will Bluetooth onto your tablet.
Right.
Anything that it can Bluetooth
Yeah.
on, it will Bluetooth.
So what did people do before computers are out? What did people do?
I guess they had books
And
they,
paper.
and their paper, and they wrote. They had like a
Yes.
I've never done it.
Yeah.
But I think they had to have like a stylus, a frame, and a stylus, and they literally picked at the right holes.
Put
Poked
punched
at the right
holes.
holes.
Yeah.
I've never done it myself.
I think I've
so-
seen some old,
Yeah.
and the
seen them at the
typewriters
RIB,
were like
yeah.
old, chunky. I think they're called
They are.
Perkins.
Perkins. I have one at home.
So they're like a chunky typewriter
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
6,
Yeah.
and you
it's
just
also worth
and you
saying,
type.
and this is particularly the case for work, that if you Bluetooth this into a computer, it will appear on the computer screen as ordinary letters. So your workmates your work colleagues
Yes.
could work it, you could do a document, and actually then the whole office just accesses
Well,
the
in a
document.
way, if you had a document with printed dots, it wouldn't work with it. You wouldn't
No.
be able to feel them.
Exactly. So,
So-
it and you can print it, and you can print it all
In
either in
normal
ordinary
print.
writing or Braille. If you
So
have
how
one,
would you print? Because obviously a normal photocopier printer would not poke the paper
Right,
to
you
do
have
the
to
dots.
buy a special machine called an embosser,
Yeah.
and it embosses the whole. They are very loud. I know that Thomas Pocklington Trust have one. They literally have to bolt it to the wall
Now,
because it's got a lot of vibration, and I do believe they are incredibly loud.
yes,
and
but they do
basically-
have boxes. I think they have sound boxes.
Yeah, they do, because I think
Now, just to let you know, and to let our viewers know, is that Croydon Vision is hoping to get an embosser, so that we'll be able to print Braille and messages, you know, whatever people need to have printed.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing some fundraising a bit later in the year, and
Fantastic.
hopefully we'll get one for the community to use as well.
Fantastic.
So, because they do cost a lot of money, these
They cost a lot of money.
these
yes.
embossers.
And I think it's worth saying, because we were talking about this earlier as well, I got this on Access to Work. If you are going to buy one of these privately, and they do cost quite a lot of money, I would definitely say to anybody, budget to have some proper training.
Yeah,
I've had to have quite a few hours of training on this
absolutely.
to be able to use it, because you are actually learning a computer again.
Yes,
You're almost having to
and
learn
what I
how
wanted
use
to
a
add
new
is that
computer.
there are individual grants that
Yeah.
trusts and foundations. So
Yeah.
if you are looking to purchase, I would say an electronic brailler, do come and see us, because we can help you apply for grants. Now I have here a very old Dino, and this is actually to label, because one of the things we didn't talk about brailing is that it might be very useful for labeling.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
if you have a box and you want to label coffee, tea, or CDs, or books, or folders, or accounts, anything you want to label, and what it is, it's a sticky tape. And this will actually emboss it. So Anna, I'm going to ask you to emboss it for my sugar box.
Yes.
So we had a little sneak practice beforehand.
We had a sneak practice and we've done a little bit of it already. So
what you have is that on the circle you have A, B, C, D.
So if I bring it over to the camera, so on the top is where my finger is the Braille. And if I try and turn it to the side a little bit, you just might, if you have good enough sight, you might be able to see the ordinary letters.
So the idea is
that side,
if you have somebody of your family or carer or somebody who wants to do a Braille label for you, they wouldn't need to learn Braille. They can see A, B, C, and then turn the wheel to match that number. But equally, if you are blind and you can't see letters, you can feel the Braille and do your own label. So it's one that has a dual kind of a... And then
cut it.
You're going to cut it. Click. I can hear it.
And I think that's it.
Yes,
and
that's
I'll
it.
give it to you.
So you will have this little tape with these dots on it that says sugar. You peel the back tape and you can stick it on the table. You can stick it on your box and then you can feel it and you know what it means, whether it's and it can be even somebody's phone number. It can be a list of phone number.
I'll tell you what's been done for me. And actually, what the passport office did for me was they put my passport number, and they put I think the expiry date or something on the back
really
of my
useful.
passport.
That is really
and this is what they've used. The Dino.
Fantastic. So you could Braille any number, any information that you might need. So and with this one you don't need a computer, and it's done instantly.
It is.
And you can then glue it.
Or stick it.
on anything. So that's another little sort of low tech sort of thing. That is fantastic. Now, do we have any more comments, Ola?
They want to know if they can learn Braille at Croydon Vision.
So at the moment we don't have any courses, but like everything we do at Croydon Vision, if you want anything to happen, let us know, and we'll gather the troops. We'll ask around if other people want to learn, and when we have a little group, we can start. Equally, we can help you start. You know.
I think what I would say as well, Odette, is that if anybody is seriously interested in learning Braille, I'm also very willing to talk to them.
Fantastic.
And to work out what level of Braille they need to think about. And what the best way for them might be to learn.
Fantastic.
It may be that we get you one of the courses from the RNIB. It may be if we, as Odette says, we have a little group, we can start learning together.
Start it off,
And actually it would be quite good, because the reason a lot of people give up learning Braille is because after 2 weeks they feel, I still can't fill the letters.
And it takes time.
No, you're not going to fill them after 2. It took me 3 months before I could really feel the letters.
It's knowing that time span and learning together that makes it much more easier. I think the sensory team as well will help you, get you on a course, but again it is much more fun and much more sociable. So sort of learn in a little group as well, over a cup of tea and a few biscuits. It is. Well, I think we've come to the end.
We have.
So next week, our Facebook Live event is all about see abilities. The eye health champions are going to come to talk to us, and it has a kind of a double double kind of information. One is that it's about eye tests. It's about, so how do you do an eye test if you have maybe learning disabilities, or if you can't read for any reason, ABC, because most of the charts to do the eye test have ABC. So if you can't read it for any reason, or so C ability will support that. And also the eye health champions themselves. One of them is totally blind, and the others have other disabilities. So it's also seeing how they work, how they actually cope with working for an organisation as a disabled employee. So it's kind of talking about both. So I think it'll be very interesting.
Good.
And I hope you will join us and for our next Facebook Live event. So Anna, thank you very much for coming today and talking to us, giving us an insight on Braille and how it all works. And I hope we've inspired a few of our members
I
to.
hope we
We
have.
have a couple of people that said they really enjoyed it and they've learnt a lot of information from this.
Oh, good.
And we have 2 people that want to learn. So.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
And I hope you will learn as well.
Yes.
Do a bit of a kind of filming in the dark.
Yeah.
Because you might want to, read some instructions in the dark without turning a light on.
Yeah.
Okay, well, bye-bye for now, and
Bye-bye.
see you next week.
See you
Bye-bye.
next week.